Good. Okay, so welcome. Good to session. Welcome to number three. Session number three. What we're covering is going to be closing, negotiating, and some techniques and tips around influence and persuasion and how to get the deal to close. So, just as an introduction for maybe anybody new on the call or joining in, the reason we're doing this is because the world changed about 6 weeks ago, and after the lockdown, I think for all of us, we've got to go into a marketing and sales mode where we're going to be selling to people on a screen, a virtual sales meeting, and that applies to martial artists for bringing students along for sessions, to what I do, to what you do, to machine sales, the whole thing. So that's what we're looking at: how to get the positioning stronger. Let Bez in. And how to close deals on a screen when you're not actually face to face with people. That's what we're doing it for. Hi, Bez, welcome. And just as a slight refresher, the reason people buy is emotional first and logic second. So all the marketing we've looked at around visibility or video or content or whatever it is, we've got to get them to buy into us first. They make that emotional decision to move towards our position or send a message or pick up the phone or whatever it is. And then our job when we get to the sales meeting, which is what we're going to touch on now, is backing that up with some logic and some negotiation skills and some closing techniques. So that's what we're looking at. In session 2, we went through, just for a refresher, above and below the line marketing. Above the line marketing is general web, social media, just put it out there. Below the line is targeted. And what I'm seeing, I had some really interesting feedback this week from a few people that both the above the line marketing, putting content out on LinkedIn, for example, is getting some results coming through. We had a lead over the weekend. I'll explain that in a second or two. But also direct and this email or maybe a direct mail, that's working as well. And a few people are getting some results on that. So that keep the balance between the two. Structure, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action is a framework for any marketing piece. Whether it's an email, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a post on LinkedIn or Facebook, that principle applies. Always have multiple streams. Don't just do email marketing. Do direct mail, email marketing, LinkedIn, Facebook, video, do content, do webcasts and all sorts of things. Have a variety of streams running so that if one goes quiet, another one will pick up for you. And finally, the above the line is time sensitive because it's your time putting posts up. And below the line tends to be money sensitive because it costs money to send those bits and pieces out. It's a real balance. So that's what we covered last week. Now, hopefully, if you have done your homework, and I did get out earlier on just to show you, we do have the baseball bat. I am going to just ask people, how did the homework go? How did you get on with the avatar, producing a video, putting a content plan together, and actually generating a lead? Anybody generate any leads this week? Any got a lead coming in? Sally, excellent. Aaron, brilliant. Yep, good. I can't see everybody. I know a few people have, but that's good. Anybody done the video? Who's put a video up on LinkedIn? Kev, good. I saw yours. Good lad. Excellent, excellent, excellent. If you haven't, I'm going to give you a virtual smack with a baseball bat. There we go. But they will work. I know a couple of people have sent across some sort of trial versions of videos, which is fine. If you do a video and you don't want to publish it or post it, drop it over to me to have a quick look at. We'll kick it around and refine it. But it's a great thing to have in place. Okay, so what we're looking at today is getting to yes. And what does yes mean? Yes just means that both parties are okay with the deal. One agrees to buy, one agrees to sell. And the trick is, remember that the power, it lies with us. What lies with you? If you don't want to sell something, you don't have to. You choose your clients all the way through this. You've got to be happy with the client as much as they're going to be happy with you. It's a win-win deal, and that's something that people miss when they're into a sales mode. So where I learned my sales was back in the old days. Now, this photograph is a sepia print taken about 1908. It's not me in the picture before anybody chimes in. I can see Aaron laughing. It's not going to work, buddy. Anyway, it's not me on the picture, but this was our family business, and the big guy in the middle is my great-grandfather. The guy on the right, the taller guy at the back, is my grandfather. And this is the family business. I started out my career at the age of 5, stacking apples in shops and selling over the counter and learning all about what we now call rapport, influence, persuasion, selling, closing, upselling and cross-selling, building relationships and learning about people's personalities. And we took it all for granted. And I think the part of the message really for today is a lot of the things that we're going to go through are what you do intuitively anyway. You just do this automatically. But when people go into a sales mode, they forget all that. They forget the conversation. They forget to smile. They forget to tell stories and just be natural. They go into some bizarre sales script. So there's a message coming up, I think. Who we got? Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kev. I'll get my own back on you. So that's where retail's a great place to do this. If anybody's worked in retail, then it's a real focus of sales and relationships. Now, even in retail, you've got to sell online. So that's where I learned from. But just remember, most of these things that we do, you do automatically anyway. And what we're going to do is put them into a framework, put them into a system for you. The first thing about an inbound lead, an inquiry comes in, it could be a phone call, it could be a text message, an email, or anything on social media. The key thing is money loves speed. Get back quick, respond. And on Sunday morning, it was about 10 o'clock, I think it was on Sunday. I was literally doing the video, the daily update video that I do. I was sat here doing the video, finished it off, and a message popped up on LinkedIn Messenger, and it was from a lady looking for language training for a language training business. And she popped up at like 10:32 or something like that. Hope you can help. I'm looking for a language train. I went back within 30 seconds and said, yeah, here we go. Bang, bang, bang. Let's book a call. Let's have a conversation about it. Find out what you want. I get a trainer on the call with you. And we did the whole deal within about 3 minutes on Sunday morning over Messenger. Now, if you make an inquiry to somebody, an email, or you leave a message or whatever it is, and they don't respond reasonably quickly, you get bored. It goes cold real quick, and it just disappears. So whenever you get an inquiry come in, the faster you can respond, the better. Certainly within 8 hours. If it's over 8 hours, I think we've lost the plot. So if somebody inquires, they make a message, go back to them. Now, when you're looking at what you're saying to them, this is part of the process here, just in my experience. If I want to sell a language training program, for example, as for this lady on Sunday, I'm not going to try and sell her on Sunday a language training program. What I'm going to try and sell her is the next stage of the process. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a Zoom call. Let's have a conversation. Let's get it was for her daughter, who is French and she wants to learn English. And I'll get the trainer on the call with you and your daughter, have a conversation. If the chemistry's right, we'll do a deal. So all I'm selling is the next stage of the process. And that happens all the way along. And we did that 3 or 4 times. Deal was done, and we're starting out next week. So you haven't got to sell the whole package on the first inquiry. You follow your sales process, that hopper we went through, and all you're doing is selling the next conversation. It could be a form to fill in, it could be a meeting, it could be a conversation, but just pitch the next stage of the process. But speed is key. Money loves speed. If you let it go, the novelty wears off, they disappear, they evaporate real quick, and if you follow up, they've forgotten all about it. So speed is a key one. It's the first rule of dealing with an inquiry or doing a quotation or anything like that. Secondly, you've got to use video, and this is the assumption we're going to make. So we've got some more people coming in. Excellent. I'm assuming, I think for the situation we're in right now on lockdown, for a lot of us, the first time we meet or speak with a client isn't going to be over a coffee in their office or anywhere or in a hotel lobby. It's going to be on a screen. It's going to be on Zoom or GoToMeeting or Skype or something like that. So just a couple of tips of what I think you should look out for when you're working on screen. All my work is done on screen, whether it's with clients or sales. I've got clients I've never met. The first time I meet them is over screen. And these are some broad tips. First of all, I'm assuming we're going to use Zoom, but same applies to Skype or GoToMeeting, same thing applies. Don't do it on your smartphone unless you've got your smartphone on a fixed tripod. Excellent, thank you. So I told us training would work. Sorry, you can just see the message there from Stefan that a new file has just come in as a direct consequence of this training, I'm sure, but good job, good to see. So if you're going to use a smartphone, have it in front of you, don't hold it in your hand, and definitely don't have it on the desk. I have conversations with people sometimes where I'm talking up to there, up to their chin, up to their nose. It's not a great look for any of us. I'm bad enough face to face, let alone looking up my nose. So do it on the screen if possible. So you've got big, you can see them clearly. Have a camera and a microphone. Now the microphone I use is the one there. It's called an ADX. It's got a Firecast. They're about 30 quid, 35 euros, 30 pounds, 35 euros. And it's this one. It's a USB driven mic. I may have shown it before, but it hopefully brings the voice out really clearly. It gets rid of all the echo and that type of thing. Have a microphone and a decent camera. I have a webcam. This is my webcam. It's a Logitech HD 1080. And that's what's on top of the screen. These are about £25, 30 euros, not a huge amount of money. Set them all up, and where I'm looking as a refresher, I'm not looking at the screen. If I look at my screen where your face appears, if I talk to the screen, now I'm not holding eye contact with you. I can see you, but you can see me, there's no eye contact. So the trick is don't look at the person. Look at the camera. I can see you in my peripheral vision. I can glance around a little bit. But one of the key things here, what we're looking at on a conversation like this, is building rapport. Number one rule of rapport and trust is eye contact. Even if the other person isn't holding eye contact with you, if they're looking all over the place, you've got to be holding eye contact with them, or be in a constant, not a gaze, but hold that steady eye contact. So look at the camera, peripheral vision around for the rest of what they're doing, that type of thing, but hold eye contact. That's a real key. So set that all up, get ready to go. And the other point is watch your background. This is a photograph I took earlier on today. I was doing my video earlier on today, so you can see we've got the same book on the shelf and all that sort of thing. I'll just put a shirt on for you guys. But when you look at your screen, do a photograph of you looking at your screen before you go on a call. So I always take a picture and I just check what's in the background. What is there anything? Have I left anything on there that shouldn't be there? Is there an old coffee mug? Is there something on there I don't want people to see? Whatever it is, and just check, have a look at it, check it out, and if it's okay, away you go. Don't do your videos in front of a window because you will backlit and you will appear in shadow. You want to have the light in front of you. From a lighting point of view, I don't need front light, not because I'm naturally gorgeous, but I have window light coming through, and I've got a light over here. You can get those ring lights that you can put around your smartphone. Those are great. They're only about 20 bucks. So a ring light would be perfect. It illuminates the face. It makes us look better than we actually are. It gets rid of some of the wrinkles as well, apparently. So look at the illumination and just watch out for the audio, the reverb in the room. This room is bad for reverb. It's got wooden panels. It's got wooden floors. It echoes everywhere. So I've got get some soft fabrics around. Literally drape a curtain across the front of your screen. I've got some cushions that I lay around the screen to deaden the noise a little bit, so it's not too tinny. Because the thing is, if you don't look confident, comfortable, relaxed, and certain, and looking your best, I don't mean from just a visual point of view, but looking confident and relaxed, that's a big red cross against you. If you're holding your smartphone in your hand, it's wobbling around, and you're never going to say anything, I guarantee, because we're in the trust game. So you've got to make sure that's all in place. So the process, or some tips you can use then to develop the conversation. We'll look at the structure of the conversation a little bit later on, but here's some principles of persuasion and influence that you can use either before the sales meeting or during the sales meeting to engage and get people to move towards your position. And we're going to look at negotiation techniques and tactics a little bit later on. The same thing applies to them. This is the book I would recommend. It's The Psychology of Influence by Robert Cialdini. If you haven't got it, I recommend it. Grab it. It's a great book. It's the best sales and marketing book in the world, I think, but it's not a sales and marketing book, if that makes sense. It's a psychology book written by a PhD. I think he's a professor now over, I think it's MIT. So he's a great guy. Very well researched book. I'm going to run through some of the principles so that you can build into your conversation style to get people to move towards your position. So we've got them on a call, and these are the traits you can use. So the number one trait, if you like, is reciprocation. We're hardwired to reciprocate. We give back what we get, for good or for bad, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, all that sort of thing. But we're hardwired for it. If if we at some point when we're allowed out, if we meet up in a bar somewhere and I buy you a drink or a cocktail or a beer or something, you're automatically obliged to buy me one back. It's just the way we're wired. It's how we do things. Business is based on this. The only reason that people pay you money is because they get value from what you do. They get a product or a service. It's that reciprocation. They can build this into your conversation. You can give things away, time, knowledge, ideas. You can give structure. You can give tips and things away. And if you do that, you're going to get back their time, their interest, and their participation in conversations with you. When we were in the UK, Lynn used to do this. When it got towards Christmas time, what she would do, she'd wrap up in the garage about half a dozen boxes of Thornton's chocolates or whatever, this sort of thing. She put cards on them and put "Happy Christmas" from Dave, Lynn and the boys and the dogs and this sort of thing. Sign all these cards, but not put who they were to. Because what used to happen was somebody would come around on Christmas Eve that we'd forgotten or we didn't know was around or whatever it was. And they go, "Oh, hi, it's Uncle Bob, and here's your Happy Christmas." And Lynn will go, "I'm so glad you're here because we've got your present in the garage," and go around and get it and give it. Because she didn't have something to give, having received a gift, she felt terrible about it. I couldn't care less, but anyway. But it's this sort of hardwire to a degree. If you give something to somebody, your time, your knowledge, your expertise, or you do something for them, they are hardwired to do something back, give you time, give you space, give you a conversation or something like that. Now, you can build that in. So, for example, you can send them some information. You can send them some tips and ideas. You could just have a general conversation with them. I send people a book, perhaps, an ebook or a physical book. And then they're obliged through reciprocation to at least engage with me. So you can build this into your marketing and build it into your conversations as well. So reciprocation, very hardwired in for us. Second one is commitment or consistency. And basically what this means is that if somebody does a deal and they shake hands on it, they sign a contract and they confirm they're going to do something, it's called the act of promise. It's a fundamental psychological trigger. It's why money is called a promissory note, because it's a promise to release value. And if you make a promise to people, for most of us anyway, certainly on the call here, the people you're going to attract, is that they make a promise, they keep that promise. Now, whether it's an agreement or a contract, a signed document, it's the only reason we sign checks and contracts now. If you sign it, it's that level of commitment and promise to follow through on what we say. We sign for our houses, on electronic signature. And the signature it chose is nothing like my signature. It's just some scrawl the computer chose. Because I've signed the document, I've physically pressed the enter button, we're legally bound, but also morally bound to it as well. We've made that commitment. One of the things we did, just as how powerful this can work in business, one of the clients we worked with, Persuasion, yes, that's on the shelf over here. Good job, thanks, Bill. Is we work with a restaurant, and one of the challenges in a restaurant, for example, is people phone up and book, or email and book now, I suppose. They phone up and book a table for 2, 7 o'clock on Saturday, and they go, "Yeah, that's great, so that's confirmed, we'll see you on Saturday." And 1/3 of people who book don't show up. So what happened was we looked at the process that we're going through, and we just changed the wording of when the booking was taken, either in writing or on the phone. Doesn't really matter, the same thing applies. So when somebody phones up to book a table, the booking was confirmed, and then the script was this. It was, "Okay, thanks, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, wherever it is. The table's confirmed for 7 o'clock on Saturday. If for any reason you're unable to, fulfill the booking, or need to change the booking, or you need to cancel or postpone," and the key word is will you call us and let us know? And then go quiet. And what happened was when the person on the end of the phone says, "Yes, I will," they're making that commitment. They're just agreeing. They've got that moral obligation. So if they can't make it, if the babysitter doesn't turn up or the car doesn't start or whatever it is, they don't just not contact, they have that obligation. And what we found was the no-show rate went from 30% down to about 20-ish. People still didn't show, but of those 20% of people that didn't show up, like 80% of those phoned. So what we could do is in the restaurant then, we could release it, we could put some mail out, we get people on a waiting list or whatever it's going to be, and we could let them in. So that commitment is mean people are going to respond and do what they agree to do. Now you can do this through your sales conversation when they're booking the Zoom call with you, when they're making an appointment. Don't just make an appointment, confirm it. Actually confirm it. So if you can't make the appointment, here's the invitation. Any reason you can't do it, will you please let me know, or confirm you can't, and get them to acknowledge they will, and that level of commitment will tie them in for you. Hi Chris, welcome. I think Chris has just dialed in. Next one is social proof. Now if I say I'm a great coach, a great presenter, or whatever it is, do you believe me? Is anybody going to believe? If I say that to you, do you believe me? No, of course you don't. Hi Chris, no, you're good, you're fine. The reason you don't believe me is because you think, or you know, I'm in sales mode. I'm trying to sell something to you, and whatever I say, you're going to go, yeah, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? Because that's me in sales mode. One of the best techniques you can use to get people to understand how good you are is not what you say, it's what other people say. It's called social proof. So for example, we've got the house, and Lynn and John are at the house today. I'm up there tomorrow, slashing and burning the weeds. I hope they finished it today, so I've got a day off. But we need electricians to come in. So I spoke to the agent. Now we don't, my French is okay. We're not good enough to talk technical terms about a rewire for a French property. So where do you find an electrician in France? Do I Google it? Do I was Yellow Pages, but it doesn't exist anymore. So what I did, I found somebody who knows somebody. Who do you know? So Stefan Sandrin kindly gave me a connection to an electrician, and I've got the agent's got somebody to do the roof. Now I'm going to trust that the people they send to me are good, because they wouldn't send them to me otherwise. This social proof, what other people say, testimonials, written or video, really, really powerful. So when you book a meeting with somebody, even before they come to the meeting, send them out a testimonial from a client, a video link. Here's what my client said about us. Here's a win. Here's what my clients say about us. And have them on your LinkedIn profile. If I look at your LinkedIn profile, at the bottom of the page, there's a big space there. You can have testimonials written from all your contacts and clients. And you need to have at least 50, in my experience. That sounds like it's a good number. I'm up to 126 so far. So maybe pinging some of you guys when this training works, right? Okay, to give me a testimonial. But testimonials are gold. Thanks, yes, hi Chris. Testimonials are gold because it gets this social proof trigger. It's why celebrities are used to promote products and services, not because it's the celebrity, but if they think it's good, through the halo effect, therefore it must be good because they say it is. And we can use that at some level as well. So social proof is a key driver. Authority. Do you look the part? This is why the camera, the audio, the screen is so important. The background, how you look and how you dress, but also how you appear. Are you confident that you are the right person for the job? And how authority goes, and you can try this out. I mean, don't try it out, but we did this when we were over in the US. If you get a high-vis jacket, like one of these, or a gilet jaune, as we call them over here, but don't do this in France, you're going to get arrested for different reasons. But you put a high-vis jacket on, walk into the middle of a high street and start directing the traffic. Traffic will follow your instructions. They just will, because it looks like you're supposed to be there. It looks like you're in a position of authority, and we'll do what we're told. We are very, very compliant as a species, as a race, but only when we think somebody is in the right place with the right qualifications, they look the part, they sound the part, and they're an authority figure. So like when you go to the dentist, you probably go to the dentist or a doctor, a medical practitioner, and if they look the part, you don't ask to see their qualifications. You don't ask to see their record of damage to patients and insurance claims, that sort of thing. Perhaps we should, I don't know. But you don't do that because they look the part. If you go to a dental surgery and it's dirty and grimy and the dentist turns up in a super dry sweatshirt and open toe sneakers or something, you're never gonna go there again. They need to look the part. That's the key part of it. So for you, it's confidence, it's certainty. Yes, you need to physically look the part, but that just comes down to, on a screen, eye contact, be prepared, have it at eye level, hold rapport, and be confident. That's the #1 skill for authority. The next one is liking. This is Lucy, the beagle. She sat out there. I had to shut the door because you might hear her snoring soon. She snores like a pig. But anyway, we love her all the best. So this is Lucy. She's very cute. She's very likable. Now, when Lucy wants something, as most people can, she turns the charm on. She becomes extremely charming, extremely likable because she wants food. So if you want to get people to move towards your position, you've got to be likable. You've got to be in rapport with them. And that comes down to smiling, being on time, being engaging, asking questions about them. I've seen people do sales meetings, and sometimes I ask them to record the meetings and send me the video recording, with the prospect's permission, of course, of the sales meeting. And when they start the meeting off, there's no warmth. Remember, I think it was on session 1, we were talking about walking into a bar and just saying, "Hi, you look nice, do you want to get married?" They do that. They get onto a call, they're so nervous, and they go, "Hi, okay, which time is short, so you're looking for this, are you looking for that? I understand this." And the salesperson in sales bombards them with stuff. They just throw up all over them. This, I've done that, I've been in business for 20 years, I've done this, here's my qualifications, here's it. It's like, for goodness sake, shut up, just shut up, have just a gentle conversation with them. Now, likability comes from revealing a bit about personality, building a bit of rapport. Ask about the weather, easy job. Ask about the weather. How's things over in wherever you're based? How's your week been so far? What are you up to? Just a bit of conversation, guide it through, and then at some point, they will say to you, "Okay, so what I'm looking for is this." Or you can say to them, we'll look at positioning a little bit later on. "Okay, great. Look, thanks for coming on the call. I understand you're interested in product X, Y, and Z. Just so I can help you best. I've got a couple of questions. Would that be okay? Just talk to me about this. Tell me about that. How's things getting on?" Be nice, be likable. It's just like you're speaking to a friend. And if you do that, then they will warm to your position as well. So you've got to be as cute as a puppy, if you like. So you've got to be like a beagle, if that makes sense. So liking is a key one. And then scarcity. We want what we can't have. We want to have what we can't have. We did a workshop, conference for a big client up in Luxembourg. And we were talking about scarcity, and the CEO of this organization, they turned around to me at about an hour before the workshop and said, "Well, what are you talking about? What's the content going to be?" So one of the things I'm going to talk about is the power of scarcity. People want what they can't have. And he said, "I don't think that's true." Well, he's a bloke, of course he's going to argue anyway. "I don't think that's true." So what I did, I put a camera, a little GoPro camera we had, into the reception area of the hotel. I got a flip chart, and on the flip chart, I just put, "This is not for you." And I put an arrow pointing to the paper just being turned over. "This is not for you. Don't look here!" Exclamation mark. And put it in reception and left the camera running. Now, what do people do when you see a sign that says, "This is not for you, do not look here"? What are you going to do? I guarantee you're more intrigued about that than anything else. And what happens, of course, is people look at it and they go, "Wow, let's have a look then. This looks exciting and interesting." It's the Pandora's box effect. We want things that we're told we can't have, that we think we don't qualify for, or that are not for us. And you can use that in terms of your approach and negotiation and the approach to the sales meeting, in terms of being scarce with your time. I remember when we started this business back in 2002, probably Kev and Gareth will get this one specifically. You'll get it, but still, I came back from training over in Australia as a bright, shiny new coach, and we hadn't got any clients when we started out, obviously. And an inquiry came in, and we hadn't had an inquiry before. It's the first thing for us. A couple of months into the business, an inquiry came through, and I said to Lynn, "Got an inquiry? What should we do?" Now, what the inquiry said was, "Interested in what you do, blah blah blah. Could you give me a call and let's arrange a time to meet whenever you can." Now, I could have gone round that afternoon, because I've got nothing else to do. Now, what I did, I responded to the inquiry really quick. Within about an hour, went back, picked up the phone. "Hi." Now, I could have gone around this afternoon and said, "Yeah, I'm here, nothing else to do. Pick a time, pick a day, anything you like." What I said to him was, "Look, I'm really busy right now. Would it be okay if I came to see you in about a week or 10 days time? It'll be the Thursday or the Friday on the 15th or 16th. Which one of those couple of days, which is the best one for you, Thursday or Friday?" And he went, "Oh, the Thursday afternoon will be great. Fantastic, you booked in." Now, I'm panicking then for the next 10 days thinking, "Oh, I should have gone round earlier. I should have gone round now. I should have gone and got the deal." But look, if I'd have gone round earlier, really quick, he would have thought, "Well, this guy's not got a lot going on. He's just, he's a new coach, no clients, not very busy. Nobody wants to be the first out the blocks with you. If they think you're busy, they think you're scarce. If they think you're scarce, they want you more. So don't just race around like a scolded lot. You've got to pace it a little bit, but so be scarce with your time. When we had clients coming through, for this business, don't just sell to anybody. Make them work for it a little bit. And I had this with one particular client, and it was a transport company, doesn't matter who they were, transport company, and I wasn't quite sure of the guy. And when it came down to the end of the conversation, he said, look, I'll think about it, which is, we're going to come on to our projections later on. I'll think about it. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I'm going to think about it as well. He said, well, what do you mean you're going to think about it as well? I said, well, I'm not sure that you're right for a program. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm not right for it? So I said, in fact, what I'm going to do before I offer you a program, I'm going to ask one of my other clients to have a conversation with you. And if they think you're right and ready for the program, I'm prepared to offer you a program. But at the moment, I'm not prepared to. And I'm going to ask Sarah, who's a lawyer, she's one of my clients, to give you a call and have a conversation. Is that okay? Now, that could have either killed the deal, or his ego was so high, when I challenged him to this, he went, yeah, okay, bring it on. Yeah, okay, I'll go for it. I'll qualify for this. So I phoned Sarah when I got in the car. I said, Sarah, I need your help. She was great. She's a corporate litigation lawyer. I said, can you phone this guy and give him a bit of a going over about working with me as his coach and joining the client team? She said, yeah, of course I can. So this litigation lawyer phoned this guy up. I had no idea what she said to him. 25 minutes later, he phoned me and he just said, did I pass? Did I qualify? And I said, I don't know yet. Sarah hasn't. He said, look, call her now. I want to know. So I phoned Sarah, and of course it's all fine. It's okay. I phoned him back. I said, look, yeah, Sarah said she thinks you're a really great guy. You'd be fitting really well. I am prepared to offer you a program. And he went, fantastic. He was thrilled. And he was a great guy to work with. Now, when he found out what I'd done, he wasn't best pleased, but he understood the principle, and then he built it into his sales process. Now that's an extreme version. I'm not suggesting you do that with everybody, but people do want what they can't have. Don't give it to them too quick, too easy. Make them work for it. Scarce resources are the most valuable resources. If they have to work for it a little bit, don't go mad, but just a little bit, be scarce, it becomes much more valuable, or more valuable in their minds. So those are some of the concepts and principles you can build into your discussions, into your process. And then that will engage and move people towards you. You only need to use probably 2 or 3 at any one time. You can use, I think the best ones, I think, when you're on a screen doing what we do like this, likability, absolutely critical. Authority is absolutely critical. And then you can use the other ones as well, maybe as you need to. But when you're doing a sales meeting like this, you've got to be certain, confident, likable, and you can use a bit of scarcity as well. You've got to be in control. You've got to be the one that you allow them to buy from you rather than you just sell to them. And we're not going to tell them that, but that puts you in that control, that authority thing. And if something looks like it's supposed to be there, people believe it. This is why authority is such a key figure. Who here has got any doubts about their ability? No, if you sort of put your thumb up and go, yeah, me. Or the Labrador's walked in now, so let's get the bat out of the way. Because what happens is there's a trait called imposter syndrome, and we've all got it to some level. And if we allow that, if we doubt ourselves when we're in a conversation or a meeting, if we're doubtful, I guarantee the person opposite's going to be doubtful. We've got to get this confidence and certainty sort of nailed in terms of persuasion, because if we don't tick these boxes, they're going to come up with all the objections, which we're going to come on to a little bit later on. So that covers the, right, okay, not a natural salesman, I have to work hard. It might be a confidence thing. I don't think, for most people, I don't think I've ever met, and this is just me, I don't think I've ever seen a natural salesperson. Not natural, they're trained. You know, there are people who are naturally maybe engaging or naturally talkative and that sort of thing, but it's not something that you're born doing. I wasn't born a salesman. I was taught, my dad taught me how to sell apples and potatoes on a Saturday morning. When I was 5 years old, I could use the cuteness button. I could just look cute. I was quite cute back then, believe it or not, as a 5-year-old. Now, if you get a 5-year-old child selling you apples and the 5-year-old says to you, would you like this with that, or would you like this, and I recommend you have this, Nobody's going to argue with a cute child. I guarantee it. They never did. So I was learning all these things. I lost the cuteness as I go along. But it's a skill you can learn. It's just a method of being likable, being social, being confident. But you can learn these things. One of the things that I used to do, and I still do now, and there's a little tip I can give you when it comes to confidence. So when I was in sales to start off with, first time, this is donkeys years ago, I was very nervous about going to sales. I'm naturally, believe it or not, I'm naturally an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I get on stage, I do all this sort of crazy stuff. I'm an introvert. I've loved lockdown. It's been fantastic. Anyway, I'm an introvert. And when I go into sales, it was uncomfortable. So what I would do, I'll use this as my prop. I wear watches because I'm old, so I don't just use my phone to tell the time. So I wear quite chunky, heavy watches, stainless steel, whatever watches. They're quite heavy. Now, when I'm normally wearing a watch, and it's just me, I have my watch on my left wrist. I'm right-handed, so on my left wrist. This is how I look at the time. Now, a little tip that I've learned is if I'm in a sales meeting or working with a client, I never wear a watch, because if I'm working with you, I'm selling to you or whatever it is, and at some point I do that, look at my watch, it breaks that rapport straight away. So never wear a watch when you're on a call with somebody. But what I used to do was, when I was getting my learning about how to sell, and I would be watching my videos with Tony Robbins, Jeff Gitomer, Grant Cardone, or it would be Zig Ziglar back in the day, or Brian Tracy, or all these great sales trainers, or Hopkins, these were on cassettes back then. What I would do, I'd listen to all this content, do my learning about sales, and I'd put the watch onto my right wrist. It's called anchoring. So this feels uncomfortable to me, but I would do my learning, my preparation with my watch on my right wrist. It feels odd. And then when I go to the sales meeting, I keep the watch on the right wrist. And then what would happen is, when I go into sales mode, this is like a knotted hanky. It's a reminder that I'm going to go into that mode I trained myself for, and that allowed me to go into sales mode or have that confidence, have that certainty. So if you're not feeling confident and certain and sort of likable all the time, train yourself. Go on, I can send some links out to some videos and content and build that level of confidence. But then this enabled me to release that energy into the sales meeting. Now, after a period of time, I don't need to wear the watch now. When we go to a sales meeting, I sort of train the muscle, if that makes sense. But if you're feeling a lack of confidence or certainty, then that can absolutely work. But generally, nobody's born as a salesperson, because they're just not. They're trained. I guarantee it. The best salespeople in the world, in my experience, are those that didn't think they could sell and therefore learn how to do it. The worst salespeople in the world are those that think they can do it, and it's probably a lot of men do this, in my experience, and they sit with a prospect and talk them to death. Just talk at them, how wonderful they are, how wonderful the product is, how wonderful their career is, and how amazing they are. And they lose the deal, they lose the sale. So if you're feeling a little bit uncertain about confidence and selling, learn it. It's a learned trait, guarantee it's a learned trait. Find an anchor point. In fact, is Claudia on the call? Where's Claudia? Is Claudia on the call? Let's look in there. I saw her jump in. Claudia, could I bring you onto the call? Would you mind? I know you did something even better than that with a
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm here.
So, Claudia, welcome. So, Claudia, everybody who maybe doesn't know Claudia runs the world's #1 dating matchmaking agency based out of Luxembourg, and has enhanced this tip. So, Claudia, could you just explain what you did and how it worked?
Happy to, and thank you for David for giving me the tip in the first place. It really helped. So when I do intake meetings with my clients, I talk to them for about 60 to 90 minutes, and they basically tell me their life story and their relationship history, and it's not always pretty. And I found that what I was hearing was starting to wear me down. It's Dave, you had a name for that. It's sympathy, blah blah blah. Anyway, it started to wear me down, and I followed the tip that David gave me, and I started to wear my watch on the right hand in meetings. And then when the meeting was over, or when my work day was over, I was going home, I washed the watch. So I went to the bathroom, washed my hands, washed the watch, and watching the soap go down the drain suddenly took all this heaviness off of me, and I was as good as new. So
fabulous, fabulous.
yeah.
But how did it affect your sort of sales conversations and meetings?
It made me, it kind of protected me. So also when I'm coaching clients and heavy stuff comes up, and like you, I then like to wear something a heavier watch. I felt protected, and I sometimes would just grab the watch on my wrist and think, this, I'm protected, I'm good. This did something psychological for me, and it definitely helped in sales conversations and coaching conversations. So good tip.
Fabulous. And well, you innovated it really. I think it's brilliant. I think it's great. So good job. Thank you for sharing. It's
Thank
great.
you.
And so I think part of it is, and this is not just for individual people, it's for everybody. We need a shield, because going into sales mode is not a normal standard process. It's bizarre, it's unusual, it's challenging, it's uncomfortable. It's not how we like to do things. But in any business, there's a pinch point through which every client has to go, and it's a sales meeting. It's a conversation. And if you need to build yourself a shield, you can use these anchoring techniques. If you want any more tips on this, I'll send some notes across. It's almost a separate subject in its own right. But if you're feeling anxious or concerned, and I saw that, I think, Jonathan, you said you're too honest. Yeah, well, it's okay being honest, but yeah, don't pour your heart out. You tell people what they need to hear and what they need to know, and then you hold it back a little bit. One of the best traits of being in sales I learned is learning how to shut up, because I've talked people out of it a number of times. And I've taught people out of deals, even before it's been in a transport business or aviation business. I've talked them out of it. So silence is a key trait for this. But yeah, find some techniques. If you're feeling uncomfortable, uncertain, anchoring a reference point. It could be a watch, it could be a scarf or a tie or a jacket, whatever it is, something that reminds you that you are in control and allows you to go into state. It's state management, basically, is what it is. And yes, exactly. That's what. You manage your state, you go into the sales mode, and then once you've done it a few times, you're okay. It becomes natural anyway. So everybody can be a salesperson. It's trained, not born. I've very rarely seen a born salesperson. I think they're trained, as are surgeons and doctors and lawyers and accountants. You know, accountants aren't born; they're created and trained. So are salespeople. You know, I think the thing is as well. Just briefly to wrap it up, I suppose. If I look at the people on the call here who are highly trained, experienced, knowledgeable in their field. I mean, you know, for Aaron, you know, the accountant. I'll pick on the accountant for a change. But Aaron, you know, to become an accountant, you have to learn. You have to know what you're doing. It takes a long time to become an accountant. And yet, how long has been spent by anybody in terms of becoming good at sales? And you know, it might be 20 minutes on reading a book or going on a webinar, watching a YouTube video. You don't want to go and see a surgeon. You say to the surgeon, have you been trained? And they go, I watched a couple of YouTube videos, or I'm good to go. Got no chance. Same in sales. It's got to be treated as a professional skill. And if you treat it like that and use all these techniques, then you'll get a much better outcome for it as well. So I'm quite passionate about it, because brilliant. Thanks, Kev. Thank you. His silence rearranged, his listen. Good man. He's trying to tell me something now. I'm rattling a lot, I know. But it's one of those things I've learned over time is to get good at it and get that conversion rate up. That's how it shows. Get good at the lead generation, but get that conversion rate up as well. So, okay, good. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, any questions? I'm struggling. I don't think I've set this up properly, so my apologies. I can't put you into breakout groups. I don't think. I will get it right next time round. I promise you. I was given some feedback So my apologies for that. What we can do is, I can just get everybody come on. Anybody want to come onto the conversation and ask any questions? I'm going to pick on somebody anyway, but anybody like to come on and give an idea, an opinion, or any questions that people have got? Who'd like to jump in before I pick on somebody? What you like. Okay, so who haven't I picked on so far? Juliet from California. Are you there? You happy to go onto the call, Juliet?
Yes.
Congratulations. Good to hear you. Can we see you as well?
Yes, I turned it on.
There we
Good
go.
morning.
Hey, welcome to Juliet. Just a quick intro to the call for you, where you're from, what you're doing, where you're based, that sort of thing. And then I'm just interested to know your experience. I know you've a lot of experience in this sort of area, but so a quick intro for you first, if you would.
Okay. Good morning or good afternoon for you, Al. My name is Juliet Donahue. I am a conscious and awake business coach focusing on businesses that are moving things forward in the new paradigm that's going on, where we're more interested in taking care of each other as well as doing the work that we're called to do. So that's what I do. And I've known Dutch from previous lives.
Wow, yes, we met in a bar in Vegas a couple of times.
We met in a bar in Vegas.
Separate story, all right, we'll get into that. So in your experience, I think this sales, meeting, selling, closing, it's a challenge for everyone. What do you see in people? What sort of experience have you had of people overcoming these areas?
I think that there's a lot of change going on for me in Silicon Valley, where a lot of people are selling all the time, and there's a real push for, let me tell you what I know, let me tell you how I view the world, because this is really about innovation. So everyone's always talking about, let me tell you how I see it. I find the connection really of just the authenticity of really believing in what you're doing just shifts everything. People will listen in a really different way. I think being in Silicon Valley, where people are just always talking about, either I know the answer to how it's going to move forward, or I'm very aware of what's happening, I'm an expert in my field. Walking in and just being authentic and not holding the air of I know everything, people just open. They just crack open. And so that's been one of my experiences moving forward with the sales piece.
There's a lot of sort of ego in Silicon Valley as well, isn't there? I've been over there, and it's just ego everywhere, which, it's a good thing, but also it could be calmed down a little bit. So, Juliet, thank you. So anybody on the call, anybody got any questions? We've got Juliet from Silicon Valley, different environments. Any questions for Juliet? No pressure, Juliet. So I did warn you. But any questions to throw while Juliet's on the call? You're welcome to connect, I assume, out of this call as well. But any questions, ping them through.
Yeah, I have a question for Juliet. The environment that you described sounds very, from a European perspective, sounds very American. So to me, it's a little bit of a cultural thing, and people have to say this, and they have to bring across this confidence, because otherwise they might fear that they might drown. Did you, in your experience and coming from an authentic point of view and not pretending to have all the answers, did you find that you develop your tribe?
Yes, that's a really good question. I thank you for asking that. So I have spent time living and working overseas in Europe and Asia and the Middle East. And so I do find that the cultural opening of understanding of being bicultural or working with multiple cultures opens the nut a little bit more for them. It also allows them to not have to be the expert in the call or as the client. And I find it also converts a lot of people where normally they're used to being, let's say, the alpha male in the situation where they are. And because they don't have to be, they're much more relaxed. I find that the decision making, that the suggestion, or even just a subtle suggestion in a sales call, or even in a coaching call, just to settle, oh, have you ever thought about, is adopted much more easily when there's not the head-to-head. It's a lot more easily accepted. So I would say absolutely yes. I think showing sensitivity to multiple cultures also does really well, because even if someone is not bicultural, whether they're living here or from somewhere else, But by showing that you have that understanding, even to someone who's from here and hasn't ever traveled, it opens another door. So I find that that opens another door for people as we move forward. And so using that as a technique, you know, asking if they, you know, have any experience biculturally also opens up to another perspective, and it takes down the barriers that might come up initially. So I'll often mention, do you speak any other languages? You know, have you ever traveled? You know, do you work with anyone internationally? And sometimes that opens and breaks down things. So.
Thank you. Let's put a question in. Thanks, Claudia. Thank you. Sorry, did that answer your question, Claudia? Is that
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay, great, good. Ken's put a question in. How does getting back to people in half an hour dovetail with scarcity principle? Ken's trying to catch me out. I'll go first, but anybody else wants to chip in. My experience is what I think, if we don't respond quickly, it just looks like we don't care, and that's down on the likability and everything else. If we respond quickly, what we don't do, that's what we do then, is that's when we set the scarcity. So we respond out of good courtesy very quickly, half an hour, thanks to the inquiry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch the next stage of the process, but that's when I'm going to build scarcity in. I've only got 2 appointments next week. Which one do you want? Or the week after? But I'm going to do out of professional courtesy to get back quick. But it allows me to position scarcity with them. Otherwise, if I don't position it and get that commitment to the deal afterwards, or the meeting afterwards, they go cold. And then if I phone up 2 days later or 3 days later, thanks to inquiry, they go, what are you talking about? They've forgotten. So I think we've got to go back quick to keep the flame alive, but then I book the scarcity out. I build the scarcity into the conversation afterwards. Not in any dramatic form. I don't do it every time. It's just something that is a technique that you can use to make them sort of want to see you more than maybe they did before. That was all. Going back to keep friends. Ulanzi. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, so a frame to keep your phone steady. $23.99 on Amazon.de, no less. Thank you. Nice. Yeah, get a framework for it. Okay. Good. So, any other points? I can't go into groups. I'm sorry. My apologies. We will do next time. I promise you. But would you like to go for a cup of coffee? Do you want a 10-minute break, 15-minute break, cup of coffee, have a walk around, and then we'll jump back in and go through negotiation, and then we'll go through closing and techniques, that sort of thing. Is that okay for everybody? Give me a quick thumbs up if you're okay. Excellent. So we'll put that slide up. 15 minutes. I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to feed the dog because she's begging for food. I'll see you back here in 15. Okay, guys? See you in a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, we'll start to gather the troops, I think, gather the clans, and crack on with part 2. So let people come back to the desk. People are scampering around all over the world now, getting back to the desk. There we go. Good. In a couple of seconds in, and then we'll kick off. Excellent, excellent. So, yeah, good. Oh, Vafa, hi there. Good. I saw you on the call. Good to see you. So I can see everybody now pretty much. So all good. So any questions? Anything before we go on to? We're going to move on now to the sales meeting, negotiating, closing, overcoming objections, that sort of thing. Any questions at all? Everybody happy? I promise not to pick on Juliet again. I won't do that. I might pick on somebody else, of course. So I am going to pick on Gareth, if that's okay. Only because, and I think Gareth had a bit of interesting news come through today. I know you pinged the message, which is great. Could you just talk through your recent lead, well, between last week and this week, maybe lead generation activities and some of the responses you've got?
Yeah. So absolutely. You know, and we had a chat last week, and one of the things that we started doing was a mailing campaign, so direct mail campaign with a lottery ticket in. And I think on our last call, we talked a lot about the wording I should use in that, you know, and in fact, we pinged a couple of emails to each other as well, just to get the wording right. So I only sent out 10. but they were quite highly targeted to people I want to work with. Hand wrote all of them, stuck a lottery ticket in, and great response so far. So, you know, someone put up a post on LinkedIn with a picture of it saying, you know, great marketing, booking a call right now. So yeah, so it was really good. I've done direct mail before, but never a lottery ticket campaign, and never as highly targeted as I did it last week. So that seemed to make the difference. So already written my 10 for next week.
Excellent, good. Here we go. But you had a phone call as well, didn't you? Did somebody phone you?
So I was there, you know, 9 o'clock this morning. I was just kind of like logging on and firing up the laptop and things like that, and getting ready for my LinkedIn activity, which is another thing that we talked about. And had a call, but I didn't see my phone ringing, so I missed it. Yeah, I know. So I thought, oh, should I phone back, or should I leave it, or what? So I decided to phone back straight away. And you know, she said she runs a landscape gardening business, just over 300k turnover at the moment. So for me, perfect target, really. It's a perfect ideal target market. She's seen my stuff online. She didn't say which channel, but I'll narrow that down on the meeting. But said, yeah, I've seen your stuff online, really like it. She said, how much do you charge? So I thought, well, this is a gamble. So
it's not really, but go on.
No. So I, you know, told her my rate, and she said, yep, that's fine. Happy to have a meeting. So booked in a meeting. Yeah. So 2 great leads within the space of about 2 hours of each other, I think.
Fantastic. This is great. Good man. It's just good news. It's great because it's just that consistency, that activity, doing something a bit different. You did it, buddy. So good for you. It's great, and you've got the responses coming in. But both look or sound very, very warm leads. So I think they've done that. Emotional purchasing's been done. Now it's a case of closing them down. So hopefully, will you be speaking with both of them this week prior to this call next week, or?
Yeah, this week coming. Yeah. So I did with the lady who phoned. I did what you just described, in that you know, phoned her back straight away, pretty much.
Yeah.
But then said, okay, well, you know, I've got clients lined up now, which in fairness I did.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, how about I've got Wednesday 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock free.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, she booked the 10 o'clock. So so I said I'll follow up with an email, which I've just done. So yeah, it's pretty much exactly what you just described.
Fabulous. Good job. Thing is, it's one of these things that it does work, and it works, but if you do enough of this sort of content the right way, the right target, right messaging, people respond. They do. So it's just encouraging. So good job, you. Well done for that. So thank you, Gareth. Thanks for sharing, mate. Good. Yeah. So Claudia, what we'll do, if you go to the I guess the post, Gareth, could you share the image? Is that it's on LinkedIn post, isn't that the image you shared to me? Is it possible to just for everybody to see it or circulate it around?
Yes.
Very cool. Just a very cool thing.
Yes, I will do.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's fabulous. Right. Thank you. So yes is the answer. Good. Okay. So you got them into a meeting. We're on the Zoom call, and we're going to go through to the pitch, as we call it. How do you do the pitch? What's the process? What's the conversation? And this is the scary part for a lot of people, where they go dry mouth, nerves, talking about money, talking about sales, and all that sort of thing. We've got to just relax. Now, if you go into a retail store, there's a script that is used everywhere in the world. I've used it myself. I've seen other people use it in the US. It's used Australia, anywhere, all over France, even France. And when you go into a retail store, I know you know the script as well. You go into a store, and somebody will come up to you and say, "Are you okay there? Do you want any help?" And if they say that to you, what do you say back? What's your instant response? It's going to be, "No thanks," or "Yes thanks, I'm just looking." And that's it, and you walk off, and the end of the conversation. But in sales, everybody's got this sort of script themselves, a similar type of thing, if you like. Gabriel back in. There we go. And so we've got to avoid this scripted approach to things. In retail, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in any other business as well. So what we want to look at is what process do you go through structuring the conversation with all the things we've gone through already? What's the structure of the conversation? So the structure is simply this. Number one, we want some rapport building. So it's really holding eye contact, nice and gentle, having a conversation. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. How's the weather? How's the kid and how's the dogs? All that sort of thing. Now, you know this. We're going to touch on this a little bit to refresh afterwards on their personality. If you get somebody who is very direct, very straight, they want short answers, you're not going to ask them about their kids and the dog and all that sort of thing. If they're much more relaxed and friendly, warm, engaging, and I've had sales calls where somebody sat with a dog on their lap. They're sat there stroking the dog. Well, you've got to talk about the dog. They're clearly dog people, So you've got to gauge it based on what you see and what you hear, but build that rapport first. Now, how do you know when you've got into rapport with somebody? Is because when the conversation starts off, you're just talking about the weather and stuff like that. What will happen is when you get into rapport, some of the words or phrases you would use, they will start reflecting back to you. So you'll start reflecting language, then reflecting words and phrases they use, maybe the pace of language they use or keywords. But when they start reflecting the language back to you in the conversation, that's when rapport is built. That's when you can start having a more straightforward, genuine conversation. For some people, it takes 5 seconds to get into rapport. Bang, you're in, away you go, done. Other people, it can take 20 minutes to get into rapport. If they need to know about you, about your background or your family, your kids, your dog, your car, your whatever it is, then that's got to be okay. They've got to feel comfortable at that level. And this happened to me. Well, I had a meeting, as it was a face-to-face meeting, to be fair, up in Luxembourg just before the lockdown. And I met this guy in the coffee shop up on the Cloche d'Or in the big supermarket there. And it was sat there having a coffee, and he had got a checklist of questions that clearly he wanted answering before we could move on. He wanted to know if I was I married? Did I have any kids? Where was I from? What would I do? And it was just like a little. Now, if I hadn't have answered those questions to his satisfaction, we wouldn't have got over it. And when he finished, about 3 or 4 questions. When we got to that point, he visibly relaxed. He got, oh, that's okay then. We're fine. We're okay. We're good. Then we can move on. But build rapport first, and then it's positioning. Then you take control. You position the meeting. That might simply be, okay, look, I understand you have an interest in this. I understand you've got an interest in that. What I'd like to do is just ask you a few questions, if that's okay, understand more about your business or more about what you want to achieve, and so I can look at some solutions. Would that be okay? And that's just a positioning, nice and gentle positioning statement. You tell them how the meeting's going to go. You've got authority on your side. You explain what you're going to do, how it's going to run, and then you can engage with them. But you've got to take control of the meeting, otherwise they're in control, and we don't want anybody else in charge of your sales process apart from you. So just work on some positioning statement. When you've got rapport, just nice and gentle, not too harsh. Just, okay, great, understand that, and I understand you're interested in this and that. I've got some questions for you. Would it be okay if I just run through some of those so I can build a broader picture, and then we can see how we can work together? Would that be okay? Yep, away you go. Great. Now, when you've done that, you've got the positioning statement done. They're under your sort of authority. Your trick is to ask them lots of questions. Avoid statements. Don't tell them how great you are or how amazing the product is or the service or anything like that. They've done all that because they've had that emotional connection. The question now is simply a case of, it can be just simply this: how can I help? That's a great one. How can I help? What are you looking for? And then they'll tell you what's going on. And you then look for all these key indicators in the conversation to look for ways that you can either cross-reference it or find a solution to it or agree with them or nudge them or whatever it is, but get them to do the talking by asking great open questions, general questions. That's your gift. And you have a list of these sort of questions. Things that I would ask, for example, it might be, talk to them about your business. What's the number one challenge? If you had a magic wand, what would you wish for in your business right now? What's the dream? What's the future look like? Imagine everything was perfect. What would your ideal day be? What would your ideal week be, for example? And I want them to tell me what they're thinking. And if they tell me and it's clear and it's quite concise, I can find a solution for them. So questions are your defense. That's your shield when you go into sales mode. And then what will happen is you can temperature check. Now, what that means is rather than close or tend to get the checkbook out, the temperature check is just, okay, so what I'm understanding right now is this, this, and this, and this type of product or service you're looking for is this, that, and that. Is that right? Am I understanding correctly? And if they go, yeah, that's we're in the right ballpark, great. Now you're getting towards a close. Now, if you do it properly, for just about any situation, and I've sold everything from dresses to aviation. What always happens if you get it right is they will come to you and go, okay, well, how do we get started? Do you think you can fit me in? Do you think will it work in my business? Is the machine that you've got, is it, have you got them in stock? Can you get one? They'll close you. They will close you, and you don't need to do anything else if you get it right. But a temperature check is just to make sure that you're on the right track. Because if you don't temperature check, and Gareth, yes, yeah, be careful of that one. You may think that you've got it nailed. You've got it just so it's great. So here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to close the deal, get it done, off we go. And they go, no, I wasn't thinking about that, because we've gone off on a bit of a different tangent. So temperature check. Is that what you had in mind? Does that make sense? Is that what you were thinking? Does this look right to you? Those sort of questions. Does that look right? Feel right? Is that what your instinct tells you? Yeah, that's great. All right, fabulous. So what we can do there is we can now look at some solutions for you, but 9 times out of 10, they'll come and they will close you. They'll say, this looks great. I've heard about what you do. All makes sense. I'm happy. Can we get started? Can I buy one? Can I proceed? But that's your sales process. That's the structure of the meeting that you're going to have. If you miss any of these points out, you're likely going to affect your conversion rate. It might only be 10 seconds rapport building, but you've got to get into rapport first. You've got to ask some great questions. You've got to do a bit of a temperature check just to sort of see how things are going. And then either they close you or you can close them. So when to introduce company services, if they don't know you well. At the end, what I want them to do, I want to buy into the principle, the concept. I want to understand what they're looking for. And if they say, for example, I know, Vision, you're into the HR service and support. I want to understand what their frustration is, their challenges with the HR service they've currently got or what they do. And I want them to tell me all about it. Then what I'll do, I would reflect back to them and say, okay, if I'm understanding correctly, I understand that your frustration is this, 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 and this. So what we need to look at is really a solution based on these key areas. Is that right? A temperature check. And they're going to go, yep, that's right. Okay, I've got a range of products and services that I think would suit you for this. And I'd like to run through them with you. Number one is the gold package, the silver package, or the bronze package. You explain what they are in broad, not specific, just broad terms. And then you say, look, based on that, those sort of 2 or 3 packages, those 3 ideas I've got there, which one of those do you think is the one that would suit you best and tick all the boxes for you? Now, if you've got it right, they're going to go, well, they'll go for the gold one or the silver one. In principle, people choose the middle one. They go for the middle package, if you like. But just let them know, here's a range of services, and they'll choose one. And only then do you need to go into specifics. If they go for I'll call it the silver package, for example. Okay, well, in the silver package, what we've got is this, this, and this. We take care of this for you. We do that. We look after this, we have this response time, we look after this, we do that, and here's what it looks like. Is that, does that make sense? Is that clear? Yep, that's great. Okay, well, fine. So look, we can get started on that straight away, and away you go. Now, I'm ad-libbing here. I'm conscious of ad-libbing here. But I think it's just to describe them the detail of the package at the end. They've got to buy you, the principle, the concept, share their ideas, be emotionally engaged with it, and then you sort of pitch the product towards the end of the conversation. So I'd leave it towards the end. Yes, thanks, Kevin. There are 3 packages. I will tell this quick story. I've actually used this is that when I go to meet with the client, not with anybody on the call, you're quite safe. I will say, well, I've got 3 coaching programs. I've got the gold program, the silver program, and the cheap bastard program. And of course, nobody goes for the cheap B program. That's what Kevin's referring to, I think. Anyway, so but have a range of products and services. Explain them at the end, and allow them to, if you can, allow them to make the choice. If they choose the product or the program, they're emotionally attached to it, and out of compliance, they will then follow through. But I'd leave it towards the end of the conversation. How long after on a half-hour course should you spend rapport building? It just depends, you know. Genuinely, there's no real answer to it. If you get somebody who's very, very intuitive and engaging, you're in rapport like that in 20 seconds. And if you are in football, great. Other people are more nervous or more skeptical or different personality. It can take 15 minutes. But the challenge is, until you've got rapport, difficult to move through to the other steps. If it's taking too long, you can try and nudge it along by positioning and say, look, okay, understand this, but let's, you know, we're limited for time right now. Would it be okay if I ask you a few questions and go for it anyway if time is a limitation? But rapport it's a key one. It's on average, I'm going to say it takes about no more than 5 minutes as an average figure. Most people, they're okay with the weather and the kids and the dog, and you know that happens. Some people are quicker, some a bit longer. On average, 4 or 5 minutes should do it, I would have thought. But good questions, good questions. So you've got your process, you're working through your, not script, but your process. You've got to watch out for the personalities. This is the DISC profile again. The high D type person, the dominant Donald Trump type person, they're not going to want small talk. They want to get through to facts and figures and straight to the point and get on with it. You can still build rapport with them, but you can do it really in a much more succinct way. The high I type person, high sociability, they want to know about you. They want to know about how's your day been, how's the kids and the dog, the fish, the cat, the whatever. And if you don't let them know about that, or at least have that level of conversation, they don't feel comfortable. So you've got to share a little bit with the high Is. The high C type people, typically, sorry, Aaron, accountants tend to be high C, detail-oriented, compliant. They want structure and they want a framework. And what they're going to want to do is ask some detailed questions. They want to be in control to start with. They're going to want lots of structure and detail of what you do, where you're based, you know, are you VAT registered, how long you've been in business for, and they need that to be able to get that level of comfort. So for a high C type person, you've got to give them some detail, and I'm skimming through here a little bit. For the high S, high stability, what they want is reduction of fear and risk. They want certainty. They want to look at your testimonials. Have you worked in this business before? What experience of my sector do you have? And you know, have you got other people I can maybe reference to that you've done work with before in my sector specifically? They don't like the risk. So you may have that level of conversation. You can gauge their profile by the questions they ask you, but you've got to feed back to them what they send you. So get into that level of rapport first, then you can move on. Now, when it comes down to the questions that you ask, you can use anything you like. Get a range of questions that fit for your business. If you're in the machine tool business, then it's obviously going to be, you know, delivery times or feed rates or width and breadth and capacities, all this sort of thing. If you're in the HR business, it's going to be to do with legislation or team sizes or whatever, anything like that. Get your own questions crafted, and be clear what you need to know so you can get the best program or product for them and walk in prepared. So you've got this going on. Now, ideally, what's going to happen is they're going to say to you, great, let's get on with it. Let's crack on. Makes sense, and away you go. If that doesn't happen for any reason, you've got to go and start negotiating. Now, if you're going to start negotiating, most buyers will tend to want to negotiate on price. We don't want to do that. You do not want to negotiate on price. You want to negotiate on the things. From a negotiation point of view, you need to have 2 of 3 things on your side. You need time, you need power, and you need knowledge. Now, in this negotiation form, let's say I'm negotiating with a big bank in Luxembourg, Bank of New York Mellon, BNY Mellon, big bank in Luxembourg. I don't have power. They have power over me because they're bigger, they're more international, they're a big international organization, they're more powerful than I am. I can't use that against them. I don't have any patented products. I don't have a brand. I don't have an exclusive range they can only get from me apart from my personality. I can't play the power card. I can play the card of time, i.e. when do you want it? What's the pace? When do you want to have this done? Can I make it achieve their deadline for them? But I can definitely use the knowledge card. I've got to sell them not what they want, but what they need. And I've got to be prepared to go in there and discuss with them and not sell them what they want, but go from a position of knowledge power and tell them, you don't want this, this is what you need. It's called insight selling. I've got a book recommendation for you later on. So these 3 things I think in the sectors that you guys are in, because we're not Apple or Microsoft, we're going to go for knowledge first. Specialist knowledge is your key, that's your key shield, your defense. Time is second, and power is probably third. So get your knowledge base up. Know the client better than they know themselves. Understand the sector, understand the industry. If you're in the HR business, understand legislation better than the client does. You go in from a position of power because you've got that level of knowledge. So you can build this into your discussions. And so if you're in everything is from a time perspective, if you can be quick, be fast, hit a deadline quicker than anybody else. If you can get there first, you win, because money loves speed. Be the first. Speed is a key driver. If you can be the fastest response, fastest delivery, or achieve a deadline for your client, they'll love you for it. That's a key driver. Power, you may have some power, but maybe not. I don't know. This more difficult one. If you've got things like a brand or a patent, or like you're Apple or Microsoft, huge power. If you want an Apple product, you've got to get it from Apple. That's it. Nowhere to go. If you're Joe Blogg's computer shop, you haven't got that brand, you've got to use something else. The challenge is, if you don't have this level of power, too many people negotiate away price, and we don't need to. Don't sell your margin. Don't give it away. Use knowledge as your strength point. So in terms of knowledge, this is where you understand the sector, the business, better than your clients. You've got to have that level of knowledge, so that when you talk to them, you don't sell them what they want, you sell them what they need. And they don't even know what they need. But when you explain it to them, then they'll definitely buy from you. I was in the engineering business donkeys years ago, and we were making we had a bid to do for it was the tried nuclear submarine program. And in every port in the world where these nuclear subs go, not sure I should be telling you this, Phil's going to tell me up in a minute, but you have to have a spare periscope parked up in the dock, because what happens on subs, not just the British subs, all subs, the periscope's very delicate. They hit things with it, like boats and ships and nets and trawlers and whales and that sort of thing. And regularly the periscope gets snapped off. So when they go to port, you've got to replace the periscope. You need a container to hold it, and we were quoting to do the container to hold the periscope, replacement periscopes on the Trident nuclear subs. Highly technical, highly specified, MOD contracting, all this sort of thing. Anyway, tender came through, and I sat with my lead engineer, who was a brilliant guy, and we quoted for what they wanted. That's just a competitive bid. When we went for the presentation, or they came to us for the presentation, we did a quote for what they wanted, and then we quoted for what we thought they needed, because the engineer spotted that there's some flaws in the design. So we did a redesign of all the seals and the clasps and the labeling system for it, and we presented that to them, and they were so impressed that they didn't bother going out for tender again. We won, and it was probably back then $1.5 million contracts, just because we told them what they wanted, what they needed, not what they wanted. That makes sense. And then price evaporated. It was dearer than the original bid, but they were so impressed with that, and they hadn't got time to go out for a bid for a tender again. They just went with us. We won the contract purely because we sold them what they needed, not what they wanted. We used knowledge power against them. It's one of the things you're all specialists in your own field, whether it's in accounting or HR or machine tools or whatever it is. Use that specialist knowledge as your defense, because if you want to negotiate, use that. They'll use price, you use knowledge against them. This is the book I recommend. It's here. This is Insight Selling by Mike Schultz and John Doerr. And it's a cracking book. It's what it basically says. You can read it on the back cover, but what it basically is: go prepared. Know more about your client's business and sector than they know. So when they come to negotiate with you, you've got that as your shield. That's your defense. You're selling with insights. Otherwise, you're into what's called a Me Too bargaining, price sensitive. The cheapest bid gets it, which you want to avoid. You just don't want to get down that route. All order thoughts. Okay, making sense so far? Any questions? Everybody okay? I think people are still awake. I can see you on the screen. This is good. Everybody's awake, so excellent. Okay. So it's not just price. Now, if somebody wants to negotiate with you on price, should you give away price? Should you bring your price down? No, not unless you get something back. If they want to negotiate on price, you want volume. or you want payment terms, or you want get something back. Don't give stuff away. There's a cracking book on negotiation. It's called don't meet halfway or something. Don't split the bill. Don't just haggle around pricing. Oh, yeah, we'll meet in the middle and call it that. No, your price stays fixed, or you can give what could be perceived as a discount, providing you get something. It could be volume, it could be longer term, it could be more engagement, it could be something else. So we did this when we had to do a workshop over in Romania, and they came. Now Romania is an interesting market, and they said, well, we can't really meet your price expectations. Okay, well, great. Well, rather than do one, why don't we do three? Let's do 3 workshops. Okay, great. So I'll bring my price down if you give me higher volume, for example. That's okay, but everything is negotiable. You can negotiate terms, conditions, volume, price, currency, anything you like. Don't give stuff away. They'll try it. If it's a professional buyer, they've been trained to negotiate on price and other things as well. So you're going to be trained not to negotiate on price. Go around volume, whatever, payment terms, whatever's valuable to you, then negotiate around that. So look, okay, I've just sent an email suggesting 20 hours at our normal rate, 40 plus at a reduced rate. Yeah, that's okay. You've got volume there. You're going to get volume back for a slightly reduced rate, because what you're looking at is really margin income into the business. Now, providing you're not just selling your time only, that's a dangerous one. You're selling value and packages and products. You can get a little bit of margin for volume, because what you'll do, you'll make it up on efficiency then. Whatever happens, you'll still make the same thing. But yeah, go for volume. Put something out there. Buy one get one free is a classic for this sort of thing. I do it for workshops. First 2 tickets are full price, the 3rd ticket is half price, for example. So that's a deal, but it's a volume incentivized deal. Negotiate, but don't give away price straight away. Don't collapse too soon. Okay, now you're going to get objections. There are only 5 objections in sales. If you get to this point, which happens to the best of us, you're going to get objections. You have the meeting, you've done your rapport building, you've done the whole thing, and then you get to the end of the meeting and there's an objection. And these are probably the 5 objections that we're going to get. Number 1, I want to talk to my husband, my wife, my boss, my colleagues about this. Okay, oh, no, that just means they haven't seen the value, haven't got the right people in the room. So make sure when you have these meetings, the decision maker is on the call, the decision maker is in the room. It's a classic attack that they will use. Big companies do this all the time. They send a junior buyer who's got to refer back to the boss to get approval, and you've got nowhere to go. Get the right person in the meeting, get the right person on the call for a start, and then they can't use that one against you. It's smaller businesses, smaller companies. People do this. Lynn and I do this, for goodness sake. I need to speak to my husband, I need to speak to my wife or my boss, whatever it is. If that's the case, get the decision makers on the call. And we had an insurance guy come and trying to sell us insurance in this business in Luxembourg years ago now. And Lynn and I sat in the meeting, got both of us decision makers in the room, and Lynn and I are co-directors, co-founders, 50-50 shareholders. We are equal in the business, 50-50 split. Now, when he's talking, and maybe some of the ladies on the call will recognize this, you may come across this. This guy is selling, and he's talking. He's ignoring Lynn completely. He's talking to me. He's talking to the guy because he thinks I make the decisions. Now, all the married people in the room know that's not true. I can't buy my own socks. I'll only make a decision about insurance. But he's talking to me. And after about 15 minutes in, he looks at Lynn. He changes eye contact, looks at Lynn. He says, oh, sorry, love, could you go make us a coffee? Now, can you imagine? I mean, it's other people in the call. You imagine what you're going to say to that? He's lost the deal completely. It's just ridiculous. So he blew it out of the water completely. But get the decision makers on the call, get the decision makers in the room, and you won't get this objection as they go along. Next one is too expensive. Now that just means you haven't pitched the value properly. It's too expensive, or I can't afford it. The price objection. If they look at that and they think it's too expensive or there's too much money involved, it just means you haven't built the value proposition. It means that they don't get it. You haven't done the pitch. You haven't got that emotional connection, and they're thinking, "Oh, I don't get it. There's something wrong there." Now you can overcome these, but if you do get them, you've got to feed back at the line a little bit. How can you avoid them in the first place? You may get, "I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I'll call you in on ready. Time's not right now." Now these 5 objections, pretty much cover every sales objection I've ever seen in the world, or flavors of, or styles of, this sort of thing. And all it means is they haven't bought the value. They don't get it. They don't see it. You haven't pitched it properly, and you think they're going to call you at some point in the future, and they're not, because basically you've blown it. So we want to avoid these objections. However, if you do get an objection like this, if you get objections coming through, which you may do, you've got to acknowledge the objection first, agree with it and accept. Don't fight them on it. Acknowledge and accept it, and then you can ask them some questions and then overcome them. So, for example, if somebody says it's too expensive, you say, oh, well, of course it's expensive. You acknowledge the objection, but then you go back to them with something else. And I had this in a meeting up in Luxembourg a couple of years ago. We're pitching for a workshop for a big bank. And one of the guys, the buyers, he said, that's very expensive. I said, yeah, of course it's expensive. Yeah, it is expensive. But then I said to him, well, why do you think that is? Why do you think it's expensive? And he sat back and he said, I suppose it's because you've got all this experience and knowledge and whatever. I said, yeah, that's right. He went, yeah, okay, you're right. You're okay, you're in. So you don't accept them. You haven't got to accept the objection, but get around them, accept it, acknowledge it, and then work around it. Or even better, sometimes, I've had this too, and you can try this one out. Somebody says you're too expensive for what you do, is just laugh at them. Yeah, very funny. Of course it is, yeah. Okay, so we're going to start next week. Just ignore it. Just don't acknowledge it. Ignore the objection completely, because it's not true. It's only in their mind, not yours. So I've seen that done. It depends on your level of confidence here, okay? But if somebody said you're too expensive, yeah, very funny. Off we go. Just ignore it, delete it, get on with it, and away you go. So you acknowledge it, you accept it, and then you overcome it. Now maybe you're going to get some people try some clever tricks on you. In my career, I've had a number of people do things to me. We were up at a company, this one was in the UK, and we'd done the deal. It was for a conference, and sat there with the conference organizer, and the contract's all laid out. And I've signed it, and she's about to sign it. And as she's about to sign the deal, so we can walk off and get prepared, the boss walks in, and she walks over and just looks over the shoulder of the buyer and looks at the numbers. She hadn't been involved in the negotiations at all. And she points at the price, and looks at me, and she said, "Is that your best price?" And of course, no, she wants me to collapse and do a deal and discount and all this sort of thing. Now, if somebody says to you, "Is that your best price?" What are you going to say? What are you going to say to them? Just type in the message if you like. I might pick on somebody, but what is that your best price? What are you going to say? Go, yes, yeah, 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 yeah. This is my good, yeah, good. Okay, right, good. Yes, okay. Now, yes, you can go with that now, or you can play the game with them. And I think Phil alluded to this. Now, what I said, well, no, look, my best price is that plus 50%, but because I like you, I'm letting you have it at this deal. Is that okay? And she went, very good, very clever, turned and walked out. It's just a game. It's just trying it on. It's a game. So hold your ground. Is that your best price? Mess with them. No, I can double it if you want. I can make it higher than that. I can give it, but I don't know, a fair price is a good price for you, whatever it is. Don't let them push you around. Don't let them bully you. So hold the price. Yeah, you can go higher. Of course you can. Is that your best price? No, of course it's not. My best price is 20 grand, but you can have it for 10 because I think you're a nice person. It's just a game. It's a little bit of an ego thing. It's a bit of fun. It's all a game with people. Don't be too egocentric about it, but don't roll over. If somebody says, can you give me a discount? No, not from this price. No, I can't. So just hold your ground, be confident, be certain, be assertive, but then just hold it and have some fun with it. That's all it is. I've had sales meetings where I've not offended. I would never offend anybody in the sales meeting, but have a bit of fun with it. They're going to try it on sometimes. So if you go through that process and they don't close you, and they have objections, acknowledge, accept, reject, and have good questions for them, but don't just roll over. Just hold your ground. Be prepared to walk away. If they don't like it, if they really think it's that expensive, then be prepared to walk away. But then what it points to really is if you get that level of objections coming through regularly, it suggests that further up the pipe, we haven't got the positioning, we haven't got the value, we haven't got the credibility right. And I think, you know, as Gareth found, when the phone call, we had that phone call, they'd seen what he was doing, they liked the content, the price was there, not an objection, just a temperature check. What's the price? You told them what the price was. Yeah, that's fine. Gone. And I hope that the conversion rate on that particular lead will be pretty high. The deal's already done. You're not going to get this objection when you get there. So we can overcome the objections way before this comes along, but there's just ways of doing it. So, okay. Any questions around the sales meeting, the positioning, the closing, negotiating? Let's cover quite a bit of ground there. But any questions on how to apply it? Or anybody would volunteer to come onto the call and give their experience or their understanding? I may just pick on somebody, but any questions? Everybody happy? Everyone's very stationary. Sally, excellent. Do you want to unmute and pitch in? Excellent. You're muted. Hi, Sally. Welcome.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everybody. So I'm a personal style consultant, and I had my first day out working on a photo shoot last week, and actually managed to get a lead while I was out on the shoot for the day for a personal client, which is where I'd go around to somebody's house and go through their wardrobe and help them have a clear out, and then we go shopping together. So that was just off the basis of her looking at me, what I was doing for the day, and her asking questions. By the end of the day, she'd come back up to me twice to kind of inquire a bit more, by which point asked for my business card. So I handed her over a business card. That evening, I had a direct message off her on Instagram saying that she'd been on my website and had a look, and really loved what I was doing. She's really, really interested. The photo shoot that I was doing last week was in a huge hall, kind of like a big semi-stately home, and they're a family with young kids doing it up, and it's been a project, you know, a labour of love for 5 years. And she spoke a lot about that on the day, and how, you know, they're trying to, you know, get the funds together to try and finish furnishing the house and things. So she'd obviously gone onto my website, loved what I was talking about, what I'm offering and my services, then gone and had a look at my prices. And in between that, I haven't had the chance to obviously then like close the, you know, talk to her. So she then postponed on messages to me, which was like, oh, you know, I really like what you're offering, but can I get back with you at the end of the summer? Once I've bought all my furniture. So after last week's session with you, I then messaged her back and said, and went with the next stage, which was offering her something for free. So I was like, great, that sounds fantastic, but how about we just jump onto Zoom? I can have a little bit more of a chat through my services with you. So she is scheduled for next week, but obviously I think I asked on the message just before, and one of the guys came back and said that's a no if they're postponing. But would, you know, if she's coming on the call, does that mean she's still interested? Yeah, do you think so?
Definitely. I think the thing that genuinely people, it may not be the right time for her now. She might be. If she's going to buy some furniture and stuff or something now.
Yeah. She's trying to furnish a huge house, you know. So yeah,
that's okay. It might just be a simple cash flow issue. So I think we've got to dance with the timescales of the clients. Providing it's true, which I'm sure it is for this lady, but. You know, I get this, and I'm sure other people get this at all. Is that I'm looking at this, I want something, but not now. It's going to be in 3 months' time. Is that okay? Yeah, of course it's okay. Because if you try and force it on them, the barriers come up, and she'll probably back off and go cold. So it might not be that it's not the price that's the challenge. It's time, is it? By the sound of it. So that'll be fine.
How do you? So in terms of closing that deal with her, would you then, you know, finishing off that meeting next week with her? You know, obviously, moving online to have meetings online with Zoom is something that's new to me as well. So this will be my first time kind of doing that. So I'm well prepared with today's notes, which is great. But in terms of her wanting to postpone, you just say, oh, I'll pop it in the diary and get back in touch with you then, and actually confirm a date with her to get back in touch.
I'd agree the date and confirm it on the call, you know, literally face to face, get it in the diary. I would also, if let's say she wants to meet in, I don't know, September, I'm going to guess whatever it's going to be, sort of thing. I would, between now and September, I'd keep in touch. Just send her some information, saw this, thought of you, or whatever it is. Just, you know, keep the kettle boiling a little bit, but have the date confirmed. And because if the furniture's all done and she can focus on herself then, or whatever it is, and also the money's there for it, time is key. And as I book it in the diary, have the next conversation, book it in for August, September, wherever it's going to be. But no, I think it's still a warm lead. It sounds like a warm one to me. If she wasn't interested, she wouldn't bother wasting her time on a call with you. They wouldn't bother.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I just noticed Linda's asked a question about whether putting the price on the website might be more of a deterrent. Yeah, it's a good question.
It can be. I'm going to say yes. I would say, yeah, it can be. Publishing prices, not because it's perceived as because you're too expensive, but until people know what they're going to get and what it feels like, what the outcome's going to be, and everything like that. If they look at a price, they start, whatever it is, it's €2,000 or £500, or it doesn't matter what the price is. When it's cold, it's like, I don't get it, because they haven't built relationship. They don't know what you do, how you do it. There's no conversation. They don't understand the value, and then it's just a case of yes or no. So, yeah, pricing on the website could be interesting. Maybe try it with it off, and then when you have the conversation with them, what you can do, and maybe I'm just thinking aloud now. What I've seen can work, and we do this sometimes as well, is say, well, look, we have a range of programs from X amount to Y amount, and it could be from 500 quid, 200 quid. I can sell you a book for £15 if you want. So it's between £15 and 2,000, and all things in between. And when people look at that, they go, well, the worst it's going to be is 15 quid. I'm okay, and they don't mind then. If it's pitched at being 2,000, 1,500, or 1,000, they go, I don't get it. That's not what I want to do. They're never going to make contact. If it's a low entry value and a high one in between, then a range can be a nice way of pitching it. That's a bit more gentle, perhaps. But yeah, but she sounds like a warm lead. This is good. This is great.
Yes, yeah. Just learning how to follow up on leads properly. I don't think I've been doing it right. So yeah.
It's one of the things I think, generally for all of us and everybody, I think this following up is a missed trick for all. We all do. We're all guilty of it to a degree. We have a client over in Germany, and they make if they plant a tree in a high street urban environment, when they plant a tree, you have to put a plastic framework underneath the ground for the root ball to grow and expand. It's quite technical, and these things are about 5,000 to 10,000 euros each for each tree. So it's high dollar stuff. Anyway, went across to meet with them, sat there with everybody going through the sales, and they were quoting loads, millions of quotes they were doing, literally. And I said to them, well, talk to me about your follow-up system. And they sort of looked at each other. They said, what do you mean follow-up? So, well, we do a quotation and we send it, and then we wait. I went, oh, you don't follow it up then? No, why would we do that? It's like some miraculous. But so what we did the first 3 months we were there, we literally got every quote they'd done for the last 3 months and followed it through. And the sales went through the roof, because the architects or the contractors are saying, oh yeah, we're on with that now. Glad you phoned. Yeah, we're going to place an order, and away you go. So follow-up is probably the number one missing ingredient. Even if they don't close on the day and do a deal, doesn't mean they're gone. Follow through, keep them in touch. It's not now, it's just not never sort of thing. So yeah, follow up, absolutely. Keep they're following through. Okay. Yes, Jonathan, you're supposed to follow up. Yes, but have us now. If you only need a small number of leads, you can do it literally on a sort of a spreadsheet. When it gets a bit busier, you've got multiple coming through. Use a CRM, use a Hootsuite. There's a number out there. There's LinkedIn, Salesforce, all these sort of things. Worth getting a CRM system to log and track and develop all the inquiries and the leads, because it is a more elegant way of doing it. But definitely follow up. It's a key one. So good luck with that, and that's really good. So you sort of resurrected the one out of the fire then, pretty much.
Sorry.
You pulled that one out of the fire then,
yes.
Pretty much.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, they're all, don't let a lead go not until they tell you to clear up, until they, it's definitely they're not interested, and don't become a pain to them. But I've known people who are interested in working, and they go away and they come back. One guy, genuinely nobody on the call now, he did me a message. He said, I met you a couple of years ago. I'm ready now. Like, flipping heck, 2 years. I'm ready now. Okay, well, great. Good. It's fantastic. But 2 years, my goodness. So yeah, keep in touch, nudge them along, and have some sort of CRM system as well for you. So good. Okay. So thanks, Sally. Great question. Any other questions? Any other observations? Okay, good. You're still awake, which is great. So what I'll do is I'll get the recording, I'll get the slides over to you. There is some homework for this week. If you'd like to go for it, I'll get the baseball bat out again, only because it'd be good to keep momentum going, I think. So I think number one is get that video ready. Get a video ready. And if you haven't done it yet, I know some people have done a sort of test video, but you know, bit of momentum there. Get the videos up. That will be transformational for what you do. Close one deal. Get a client. Let's close a deal. Let's get something happening. I think, Gareth, you've got a couple in the pipe, if you like. So find a deal, get a client. Let's get a deal closed, just so you can tick the box and say it's moving forwards. Get a couple of client referrals, because in terms of lead generation, referrals are gold. They're just gold dust, high conversion rate, already in the spirit for you. And to save all the marketing activity, get a couple of your favorite clients and just give them a bell. Hi, it's me. We're coming out of lockdown now. Give me a couple of names, people that you could recommend I could speak with, and let's get a couple of client referrals and get a couple of client testimonials as well, either in writing or on video, or put them onto your LinkedIn page or something like that. But get a couple of clients just to say something nice about you, and you can publish it, and that overcomes that social proof. So I think for this week, nice and gentle, get a video ready, close the deal, a couple of referrals, and a couple of testimonials, and that would be good, solid progress, I would have thought. Is that okay? Is that okay? Are we going to do the child getting told off for not doing homework on Tuesday? Yes, you are. Jonathan, yes, you are. Okay. So everybody happy? Everybody okay? Fantastic. Good. Yes. Excellent. Thank you for being on the call. I'll get the recording, the slides, and if you want any of those videos, you want some videos of content on anchoring, NLP, that type of thing, about the watch and that type of thing, ping me a message. I'll send some stuff over for you, and we can work through it as we go along. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. Have a great week. Keep me posted. I'll see you on LinkedIn and see you in the meantime. And I'll see you next week. Take care and bye for now.